there ain't no stopping us. Fly without a boarding pass. Couldn't catch me, I'll be moving fast. Call me a shooting star. Let 'em know who you are. Flying up in a bar. Wish on a star. Time to show 'em who's in charge. Call me a shooting star. Didn't even get to cross. I said I'm moving too far. Get to glass. Looking at a shooting star. Got more than a couple of people going mad. I swear they're rooting hard. Said I might be big in the game like she went and got them breast implants. I said I'm moving too fast. Didn't even get to glance. I'm ready to eat up track like I'm seated in a restaurant. If you had swag like mine, you know it's best to flaunt. We aren't hating because you aren't. Shining like it's neon. Rock like kings of Leon. Shooting stars across the galaxy. I stand out, so don't be mad at me. Infiltrate, I'm with my strategy. When I turn up, then I just have to leave. Shooting stars across the galaxy. I stand out, so don't be mad at me. Infiltrate, I'm with my strategy. When I turn up, then I just have to leave. Yeah, shoot. Yeah, shoot. Yeah.
What's going on with the microphone? Here we go. I don't know why this happens, that I keep having to restart it. But it looks like we do have some people, and I am trying to get comments up. But for some reason, my little auxiliary screen's not working. So you guys, Sam, let me know if there is sound now. There should be. And I'm still trying to get my little comment screen up. But for right now, I've got my comment screen up here, so that will work well. Let's try this one more time. So we were out, and I think that worked. We were looking for a place for the Libertarian Party of Douglas County to meet. And we had to see, because karaoke started at 7:30-ish, and that's right when our meeting ends. And I'm getting my microphone fixed here. I mean, I was running in the door. I'm surprised I am not out of breath. But why isn't... I am like trying so hard to get I have like a little extra screen here. I'm trying to be all high tech and get the comments up. But until that happens, we'll get started. So, 1 second here. Oh, and good news. I don't know how this would work in Ecamm. This is interesting. So this is an experiment. You guys are going to need to help me out. I have now been approved for YouTube monetization. Yay. Which means ads, potentially. But it also means super chats are allowed. But I don't know if Super Chats work with Ecamm software. So you guys tell me, do you see an option to do Super Chats? If you don't know what they are, there should be something along the top where you like give a tip to the streamer and then it highlights your comment. So really big streamers tend to only interact with, because they get hundreds of comments, they tend to only interact with people who do the Super Chats. Now, you never say never. I mean, I don't think I'll ever be that big, but my intent is to never be pay to play. Hold on, I'm still messing. 1 second here. I know you're seeing my nostrils really close up. I'm still trying to fix the screen. I hope that I'm always responsive to comments, whether or not they're Super Chats or not. But I'd like to know if Super Chats are working. So if you guys over there could tell me, do you see anything like that? Let me know. In the meantime, damn it, this screen will not work, but that's okay. I can see your comments right here. So in the meantime, we're going to get started. Before we do, where we go. Why is that very weird? I thought, never mind. At the end, well, we'll just do this at the beginning. I can't find my little graphic. It got me a little confused, but as you know, I am presently unemployed, though I did have a good interview today, and I'm thinking maybe this is, God's way of pushing me into doing Liberty at least a little bit more than I do. So if you can, and you enjoy the type of work that I do, will you please consider becoming a patron? My Patreon is patreon.com. I usually have it up here, but I can't find my graphic. Patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. Now, normally I don't push a particular level. I'm grateful for whatever level anyone can do. I think it's from $1 on up, right? But for the top tier, which is $25 a month, if you are a top tier patron, you get at least one dedicated show a month, meaning if there's a particular topic that you have a burning desire for me to address and I'm competent to address it, I do obviously reserve the right to say, pick something else because I got my comments on the other screen now, because that's not my wheelhouse. So within reason, then you can pick a topic a month. If you've noticed that episode I did called Does Libertarianism Allow Voluntary Slavery? That is when Clayton was a top tier patron and that was his choice. And now the screen's just flashing. I am unplugging it because it is just distracting me. And that was the subject he chose. I put a lot of research in it and I'm very proud of that episode. So Dave Davis says, there is live chat on YouTube. What's a super chat? There's little buttons along the top that say $1 amount or something. I'm going to have to test doing a live stream that's just on YouTube and not multi-streamed. Tilt knows what Super Chat is, and he doesn't see it. I just got approved for the YouTube Partner Program, so I don't know why it wouldn't be there, but this is all troubleshooting. But that's cool. It's not like I was expecting anyone to do Super Chats. I'm just trying to figure this whole thing out. But let's just get started, shall we? This microphone is in my face. I don't like it. And this is a get ready with me, because I'm probably going to be doing a bunch of videos tonight. So, first up, we have People's Party Update, and it will make me... Oh, I see. So use a separate display. Why do I don't want AirPlay. But anyway, sorry. I'm so distracted by all these shiny little buttons. So I am up to date after today on the People's Party because I have been spying on our little communist friends. And from what I understand, I think they do have a call tonight, which of course, I will have, and Justin says definitely no super chat. So I'll need to figure that out and perhaps put it in a trouble ticket or a support ticket with YouTube. Doesn't matter. Just curious. But thank you. That helps answer the question for me. So, yeah, I'm caught up with the People's Party until after tonight when they have another call, but at least that puts me right on track. So we are going to do People's Party stuff, and then we are going to talk about the controversy surrounding the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire. And I think that's probably what a lot of you are here for. That will be at the end. I don't have that many People's Party clips, though. And we are doing a Get Ready With Me because, again, I am going to be recording other videos tonight as I will be at the Florida convention all weekend. Well, I didn't want to take my glasses off yet because I need to pull up the first clip. So let me get there. I think this is it. And let's get going. Let's get ready to rumble.
And that's something that we've unfortunately seen when we have seen progressives not standing up to fight, not drawing the same kinds of red lines that the corporate Democrats are drawing in these negotiations over the stimulus bill, over whether the public option is going to be included, whether $15 minimum wage is going to be included, whether there's going to be a floor vote on Medicare for all of these things. We see corporate Democrats, Joe Manchin, saying, nope, you don't get my vote, unless the unemployment benefits go from 400 to 300, he gets what he wants. We see Democrats now, corporate Democrats, calling for to get their way on the SALT tax, which is a tax break for millionaires, basically, that they want to get out. And, they say, you don't get our votes on infrastructure, without this. Okay, well, they get their way when they do that. Well, we need the progressives in Congress to do that.
What happened? So I hope I get everyone back. My stream got interrupted. Do not know why. So I'm waiting. I see half of you are back. So let's just give it a minute while I get my foundation ready. Do not know what happened. That is really strange. Every once in a while, those streams do fail. That is the nature of technology. My apologies. I end up stitching these all together for a non-live broadcast where I take out that countdown timer and all of that. So I'll just stitch this all together. Yeah, Daniel W., everyone failed. I do not know why. But so hopefully you heard the end of that clip. So let's talk about that. What's his name again? Nick Brana. What Nick is, I don't know why I have such a hard time with remembering his name. What Nick is saying is that he's very disappointed in progressives like the Squad because they are not bundling things or insisting on bundling things with the stimulus package. Now, I understand that's kind of how politics have always been, but I'm very disappointed in the People's Party advocating for politics to continue that way because they sure bitch loudly when, say, the Republicans do that. So don't be a fucking excuse me, now that I'm monetized, I need to stop that. Don't be a futon and, want to do the same thing. If you're looking to change politics as usual, don't complain that your allies are not doing politics as usual. Bills should be one subject, one thing. You shouldn't tack all of these other things on. It's such poison pills. So he's very upset that the Squad didn't insist upon for their votes to have a Medicare for all. What does that, oh my Lord, that is such a fetish for them. It's like, I would say something that would get me unmonetized about this fetish. And $15 minimum wage. People out here in the real world, perhaps a lot of people want those things, fine. But everybody, I don't even want to say everybody, but this alleged stimulus, okay, let's say whether it's a stimmy check or whatever it might be, would be for everybody. And not everybody agrees with your Medicare for all fetish or your other fetishes. Why are you advocating holding that up? Because you're not getting your thing. And I know that's what the Republicans and Democrats have done all along, but I thought you people were supposed to be different. No different. It's just, it's okay when it's your pet issues. Or you find a way to make it infrastructure when it's your pet issue. I'm sorry. My baloney has a first name, and it's Nick Brana. Let's continue. really gets me ticked.
This Republican centrist call for the Republican Party to disown Trump, and they're threatening that if the Republican Party doesn't make these changes, they're going to form this new center-right party in the U.S. And so, I think bring it on. Welcome. This is not what the American people need, but if another party forms that essentially breaks up the Republican Party, that will create an even greater imperative and an even greater purpose behind forming a major new progressive populist party, which is what we're doing. And so it can only help. And if there are four parties running in a particular district in the presidential election, that only helps as well. It helps the cause of building a new party, and it helps because really it means there's 3 corporate parties running against 1 non-corporate party.
Okay. I figured out what happened, why the live stream got cut off last time. That's actually my fault. When I load up these clips, I could put go to next scene or end broadcast, and I apparently hit end broadcast. My bad. You guys would never know that, but, I'm messing up. Okay. His completely ignoring of the Libertarians is really irritating me here because I think it's on purpose. 4 parties, huh? You forgot about us, didn't you? Didn't you? You think you forgot something there, sweetie? Okay. And we're not a corporate party either. Me personally, I'm very anti-corporate, but I know that's not the Libertarian Party position writ large, and I don't think most Libertarians share my position. So, in general, we're probably like incels. We're not corporate, not by choice, but because no corporations are interested in sending us a bunch of money. I'm particularly not, I don't believe corporations. I've done this a bunch of times. I could go over it. Hey, and if you were a top tier sponsor, I would go over it again. No, just joking. Well, I'm not joking, but I'm not saying like I won't go over it unless I get paid. That's like real shitty. But yeah, I don't think corporations are libertarian. But in general, if the Koch brothers or whoever wanted to throw a bunch of money at us, like everyone keeps saying they do, we would take it. But they don't. So there would be 5 parties, my dude. I know it might be convenient for you to forget about the Libertarians, but we will not let you forget about us, particularly since you don't even have ballot access yet. That is what my husband calls writing a check with your alligator mouth that your mosquito ass can't cash. Okay? More parties, the better. I agree. Now, I think he is taking way too seriously this idea that the Republican Party is going to split. I don't think that's going to happen. I would welcome that as well. Trump certainly ain't going to lead it. What was all this stuff Trump was saying? Oh, I'm going to start my own social media company. Oh, I'm going to start my own party. Maybe if someone else does it, but he's the perfect example of the alligator mouth and the mosquito ass, okay? He's not going to do anything. Really, I think we've discovered him for the shell of a mouth that he is. He's a macrame man painted orange with a mouth. He's a Twitter edgelord with no substance. As I say, a mile wide and an inch deep, okay? So, no, I do not take the idea of the Republican Party splitting seriously. I would hope it would. I would laugh. I would laugh if the Democrat Party split. I don't think the People's Party is splitting the Democrats either. Nick Brana, I can't tell. I used to just think it was him pumping up the base. You got to do that. But I'm beginning to think it's a messiah complex and delusions, like literal delusions of grandeur. So, let's continue.
And some people in the media, even the independent media, are confused about, what kind of new party do Americans want? Lots of 2/3 of Americans want a new party, but we don't know what kind of party. Yes, we do. We know exactly what kind of new party the American people want, because 90% of Americans want corporate money out of politics, because 72% of Americans want a Medicare for all single payer system, because almost as many want free public college. So we know exactly what kind of new party they want.
You're smoking crack, dude. Don't Bogart. Pass the pipe. As long as it's good. Pass the pipe. I want to hit here. What? The actual futon. That's all I can say. I would agree with you that most Americans want corporate money out of politics. I would just want corporations out of everything. I agree with you there. But if 72% of the people wanted Medicare for all, we would have it. It doesn't make it right. Just like it doesn't make it right when 51% of the wolves decide that the 49% of the sheep look delicious. But the fact is, I don't know where you're pulling these numbers out of your rear, but 72% of people do not want Medicare for all, nor do they want free public college, or we would have it. You keep claiming this faux popularity. That might be true in your echo chamber. I would think in your echo chamber it would be closer to 90-something%. But in Colorado, which is turning into the People's Republic of Colorado, because, we should have built that damn wall on the western slope and made California pay for it, as I have jokingly said many times. We are a solidly blue state. We had a single payer bullshit thing on our last ballot, and it lost. It's the second time it lost. If this was as popular as you thought, at least in the left coast states, it would already be law. And it's not universally. Pun intended. So, it's one thing to pump up the base. It's another thing to lie about the numbers. I'll leave you guys to decide what he's in fact doing. But this gives me an opportunity to talk about something else I like to talk about when I'm out talking with voters in Colorado. A lot of people say to me, well, I agree with you. The duopoly sucks. That's why I withdrew my Republican or Democrat registration, and I'm now and I'm pulling out some blush here, a registered independent. And I go, that's great. That's a great first step, but it's not enough. And let me explain why. And y'all can use this argument. I'm sure it's occurred to most of you if you're in a partisan registration state. I go, that's a great first step, and I'm very glad you did that. But, so you have, in fact, sent a signal. You sent a signal to the duopoly that you're not happy and you do not want to be registered with them. But it's an unclear signal because all it says is you're unhappy. You could want more socialism for all they know. Independent says nothing. It just says you don't like Coke or Pepsi. It doesn't say whether you'd prefer Sprite, whether you'd prefer RC Cola, whether you'd prefer bourbon. It doesn't say anything. It just says that you're not happy with the two choices before you. And it gives them no incentive to change. It doesn't move the Overton window. You need to register, if you're going to register to vote, with the party that closest. Nobody's going to 100% agree. I don't 100% agree with myself. I can't expect a political party to 100% agree with me. But you need to register with the party that is closest to your actual political beliefs, because that sends a definite signal as to what you want more of. So if you leave one of the duopoly parties and you register Libertarian, one second, I dropped something. These are some samples I got from Macy's, and I always use the samples. Why not? It's free. It's these, I'm going to give you guys a hint here. And I was laughing because one of my guy friends said after he started watching these videos, it took a month for YouTube to stop recommending makeup tutorials to him. These foundations that you get as a sample has, the wide range of skin colors because they don't know what the person who's getting the sample looks like. I use it for contouring, because the darker colors I can use for contouring. So when you register Libertarian, you at least send a definite signal that you want more freedom. And if you register Socialist Workers' Party, you send a signal you want more communism. But if you really want to make a statement, then you need to register with the party that most reflects your choice. You don't have to vote for their candidates. You don't have to vote at all. But at least if you're trying to make a statement through your voter registration, which you obviously are by registering independent, which means nothing, it's as vanilla as it comes, then at least make a statement that actually says something other than wah, because that's all independent says is wah. Say what wah in what direction. Now, I know some states have issues with what primaries you can vote in, that you need to either be an independent or a Republican to vote in the Republican primary. Colorado, I'm not even too sure because I don't care about that. So I get that. So if you still want to, but I don't know why you would want to vote in the Republican Party if you're not still a Republican or a Democrat. I get the strategic thing, but dude, just stay away from both of them. Like, it's like saying, yeah, I broke up with my girlfriend, but you know, once every few years, I still want to go, you know, have a hate F. It ain't worth it, dude. You might walk away with the crabs. Make a commitment. But if, you know, you got the 2-year itch or whatever it might be, you can register in time to go do your thing, you know, and then come back. But for most of your time, your voter registration should be the party that closest aligns. They're not going to be perfect. Political parties are not perfect. And if it's Libertarian with all of our wards, I'm trying to open this without it's spilling all over the place to do some contouring, then please do. If you're an independent now, that's a waste. Please, please register Libertarian. Let's continue.
Hello and welcome everybody to the People's Party National Call this Thursday, May 27th. My name is Phil, coming to you I'm in Annapolis, Maryland. I'm just going to go over the agenda quickly before we jump into the call while everybody finishes filing into the webinar and getting their sound all lined up. So per usual, to start us off, please enter your name and what city you're in the chat so we can get an idea where all you good people are coming from or hailing.
I don't think I meant to save this clip as like has no content, but I'm contouring. Let's let it play.
From. And as we get into the call, please remember to use the Q&A at the bottom of your screen to ask questions that we'll try to answer throughout the call, as well as have some time at the end to answer some of them live. So we may shut down the chat a bit shortly after we get the call started based on some of the problems we've had in the past, but feel free to, like I said, enter your name and city in there and get some conversation started for now. So to start us off, per usual, we're going to have Nick giving us some updates on current events around the country and around the world. Then we have some speakers from around the country from Montana, Massachusetts, and Washington states to give us some updates on what's going on there and their progress in forming a People's Party in their states. Then we're going to get into some calls to action around some of the current events that Nick's going to go over. But yeah, how you can plug in and get involved and help make a difference. Then we're going to jump into a few more updates, and then we'll hopefully have some time for a Q&A followed by a closing. And that's what we got lined up for tonight. So I am going to pass it along to Nick to go over what's going on these days. What's the good word, Nick?
Hey, Phil. Hey, everyone. Great to be with you. Yeah, we got a great national call for everyone tonight. And so I wanted to start off with some of the updates, of course, from the news.
Okay, yeah, I totally did not mean to clip that out, but now you know how the intros to their calls go. They're all about the same. I don't know why I clipped that out. I'm very imperfect. This dark foundation is for really much darker than I would use for highlighting, contouring, so I'm trying to even it out. I think I'm succeeding, but that was way darker than I thought it would be. Let's take a look at the comments while we're here, since I don't have that separate screen up, so let me pull those up and put on my old lady glasses, but I like the way the contour effect eventually turned out. Okay. No registration in Michigan. I find that so weird. And it's because every state I've ever lived in has had registration. And whatever you grew up with or live with, you kind of think everywhere is like that. So I just find that so strange. I used to live in Florida. We have partisan registration. And obviously in Colorado we did. So I just find that really, really weird. Like, how do you know? I don't know. That's just so strange. And, Hey, Justin, sounds like us trying to run a 1,000-person national convention via Zoom. Oh, don't give me post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay, I'm going to continue with my contouring, which is, oh my God, it's still really dark. And we'll continue.
As per usual, first, we have the huge news that White House releases its budget plan, and surprise, surprise, guess what's not there? A public option. And guess what else isn't there? Student debt relief. Remember that Easter egg that we were supposed to look for in the stimulus bill that was supposed to forgive or allow people to get away with not paying taxes if there was student debt relief? Yeah, it turns out that's not going anywhere. And the country needs Medicare for all. And so the public option is already a compromise. That Medicare for all is the compromise. I mean, we should have a national healthcare system. But for Biden to not even stick to his own moderate campaign pledge is so revealing of Biden and the Democratic Party and the fact that they don't plan on using their full majorities for anything.
Good. I hope they don't. Because, I really don't want more socialism, though it might bring the system down faster. Not that I would be any happier if it was a Republican majority. I shouldn't have to say that, but the way libertarians today love to defame other libertarians, unfortunately, you have to say something and they go asterisk, 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 cover my libertarian ass, asterisk. But you think that Joe even remembers his campaign promises? You're much more optimistic than I am. So I don't know. I think he's actually being a bit more radical than his campaign promises. You're saying he's not being radical enough. How about we don't make government so big that we're all worried about what our overlords are doing and we just live our own lives? How about that? How about that? Cash me outside. But okay, so you're unhappy that you didn't get your pet hobby horse on the excuse of Corona. You're already a politician, Nick. Don't let a good emergency go to waste, eh?
So at the same time, as we talked a little bit about 2 weeks ago, what could the progressives do about this? Well, I mean, there's so many people, the progressives in the House have the margins to deny the Democrats passage of legislation, must pass legislation. And they have that margin in the Senate too. Bernie Sanders, his one vote is enough. But maybe the squad should take a page out of the Republican Party's playbook, because Republicans know how to use power. So do the corporate Democrats. So they, for example, Joe Manchin, that's why Joe Manchin says, you don't get my vote for the stimulus bill unless you reduce unemployment insurance, unless you eliminate student debt, unless you agree not to try to remove the filibuster. And so they know how to do it.
Okay, it's funny. They aren't even in power, and they already are planning on being just like, welcome to the new boss, same as the old boss. No, thank you. And it's all about power. Game of Thrones. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da. And what happens when you play the Game of Thrones? You win or you die. And everyone dies. That's George R.R. Martin's joke on all of us. But in any event, yep, they're no different. It's just that they've justified dirty dealing. Dirty deeds done dirt cheap. I'll spare you my Bon Scott imitation. When it's things that they want. Good little commie utilitarians. This dude creeps me out. The more and more I watch him, he just creeps me out. I don't know what it is. I don't like the expression somebody has a punchable face because I'm a pacifist. But if there's anyone that might apply to hyperbolically, not literally, he would be it.
And the Republicans They definitely know how to do it, because what are they doing now? Some of the establishment Republicans, more than 150 of them that signed a letter, they are threatening to form a new party, a new center-right party. Well, can you imagine for a minute how much leverage the Squad would gain if they threatened to join the People's Party? Just imagine that for a second.
I don't think they would gain any. I am imagining it, and I don't think it would make a difference, because their bluff would be called and they would be denied committee positions, and they like being the almost powerless agent provocateurs. And if you haven't figured it out yet, Nick, they're not very smart. You know, I have a feeling that half of the Democrats, if they threatened to join the People's Party, would be like, don't threaten us with a good time. Because they would almost certainly lose their seats. I think they're probably going to lose their seats anyway. But no, I think you are vastly miscalculating that one.
I guarantee you that we could get a public option, end military aid to Israel, get a $15 minimum wage. I mean, heck, they could have gotten a $15 minimum wage if they just made their vote on the stimulus bill contingent on that.
So play with people's lives. Is that what you're suggesting? People who are, you know, I'm not even talking as a libertarian necessarily here on how I feel about stimulus checks. Just, you know, your average everyday person struggling to live who is really counting on that money, morality of it aside, and you are advocating in your little elitist self to hold that hostage to your pet little issue. How tyrannical of you, Nick. The look suits you. I have absolutely no hope of there being any change if your little group got into power. Because it is, in fact, power what you're after. Libertarian Party, allegedly, at least my Libertarian Party, the Libertarian Party I'm in, that I envision, is not about power. It's about, you know, I hate using this expression because it turned out she really didn't want to do that, but I think we really do want to destroy the wheel. Justin says something, and I think he's right. Justin Garman says his face is punchable because he's got that weird smirk. Right. It is that. It's not even what he's saying. It's an annoying, patronizing little smirk that you put your finger on it, and I couldn't. It really does bug me. But again, you know, we are nonviolent. You don't punch people because you don't like their smirks. And I'm a pacifist, so I don't even use claim for myself the justified use of physical force. But in any event, you nailed it.
But if they threaten to leave the Democratic Party and join us openly, that's how you actually get leverage against the Democratic Party. And unfortunately, that's not something that they've been willing to exercise. Here's another example. Remember when Trump and Bernie started running back in 2016, 2015 in the primaries? Well, there were very different results. Trump ended up the president of the United States, winning his primary. Bernie ended up cheated out of the primary and endorsing Hillary Clinton, and then running 4 years later and getting cheated again. Well, what did they do differently? Donald Trump threatened to run as an independent if they didn't give him a fair process. That's how much leverage it gives you. He said, you know what? If you're not going to give me a fair primary, if you're going to rig it like the Democrats did, then I'm going to run independent.
But we all know that would have been hot. We know that was hot air. And it would have been a hot air if Bernie did it too. And I have a feeling Bernie just didn't want to pretend, because it isn't just so easy to run, as you guys are finding out, as a quote-unquote third party. Neither of them would have made it. And while I agree that Bernie was ripped off in 2016, I don't see the evidence that he was ripped off in 2020. I know you all think that all of us, I'm making just a ton of Game of Thrones references this time. Like Viserys, is that the right one? Daenerys' brother. What was his name? Whatever. He told her, you know, they're drinking toast and sewing dragon banners in secret to our name. I know you think we're all doing that, you know, to the hammer and sickle, but my dude, we're not.
Well, Bernie Sanders could have done the same thing, and he could have done the same thing in 2020 also, but he didn't do it there. And this speaks to, you know, why is it that the Republicans and the corporate Democrats are always willing to use their power, but the progressives are not? Just like the same is true if Bernie Sanders in 2017, when we invited him, as we started as Draft Bernie for a People's Party, if Bernie Sanders had accepted our invitation in 2017 to start a major new party, and then we had gotten ballot access across the country then with his support, with the whole movement that built up around his first campaign, Bernie Sanders would be president right now, because he would have run in 2020 against Joe Biden and Donald Trump, two of the most unpopular political figures in the country. Hillary was more unpopular than Joe Biden, but Joe Biden still not that popular, especially during the race. And he would have beat them. He would have run against them in the middle of a depression and in the middle of a pandemic that's been horribly mismanaged, and in the wake of the federal government, both parties almost unanimously in both chambers using the pandemic as an excuse to give trillions of dollars to big banks and to big corporations.
You want to use the pandemic as an excuse for your agenda. I mean, I don't agree with what they've done with they certainly have done what you've accused them of. But your complaint isn't that they misused or that they took the money. Your complaint is that they didn't do it the way you wanted to. Cry me a river. But you are really smoking some primo crack if you think Donald Trump is unpopular. I don't like him. But he got more votes than Obama did. He only barely lost to Biden. More people voted in this election than in others. I think it's your confirmation bias speaking. Donald Trump is immensely popular. Doesn't mean I agree with it, but I'm not so, you know, I don't have to deny reality to justify my own point of view. I'm the type of person, even if I stand alone, if I have an opinion, I have an opinion. But you really are smoking some choice crack if you think Bernie Sanders would have beat Donald Trump. I think it would have been a worse loss than McGovern versus Nixon. And that's why you have these delusions and this Messiah complex. Now, 2016, I'm not so sure. But no, people don't want crazy Bernie. Now, don't get me wrong. Trump is like one of those people you either love or you hate. But when he's one of those types of people, a lot of people might hate him, but a lot of people love him. Obviously. I mean, those numbers don't lie. They're like, you know, Shakira's hips.
Is Aaron, who is going to give us an update on Montana. Hey, Aaron.
Hey, thanks, Nick. Yeah, here in Montana, we're working on becoming recognized by the state as the People's Party, which is a process that's different in every state. But here in our state, we're going to need 5,000 signatures. So we'll shoot for more. We'll shoot for 7,500. But the problem we have here in Montana, it's a big state. I read a postcard. I don't know if it's true, but I think it said there's one person for every square 8 miles squared. It's probably true. It's pretty vast and not populated. So we're going to need a lot of people in Montana to help us spread the petition across the state. Another member here in Montana is working with the group Surge, and they're having an event on Juneteenth. And it's an event to invite other like-minded groups. And we can, in that event, spread the petition, see how we can work together. Like here in Montana, we have ranked choice voting that's trying to get started. So we're going to try to work with them or other groups to push our petition and just spread it across this vast state. So yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Okay, I like this guy. I don't know why. He just seemed adorable. Like, he's just your average, everyday guy. So, he's a likable one out of this bunch, which is a little bit few and far between. So, they're going through the ballot woes. And did he say Montana or did he say Oregon? I think it was Montana, wasn't it? Whatever it was. So, you know, they're doing the work. And it's funny to me how many people are not even aware of them. These guys are going to surprise some people, I think, when they come out of the woodwork. I don't think they're going to be huge. I think Nick Brana is now perpetuating fraud when he says to people we're forming a major new party. You don't have the choice on that, dude. You don't just form a major new party. You form a new party, and it will or it will not, channeling Yoda, earn major party status. You have to earn it. You can't form it out of the womb that way. And, you know, at first, I thought it was just bluster, but even from hearing from the malcontents that have left the party, the People's Party, that's one thing they had a complaint about, is they felt that was fraudulent and overblown, and it is. And he needs to cut that shit. Cut that poopy out.
And so next up, I want to hand it over to Karen, who's going to give us an update on Massachusetts. Hi, Karen.
Hi. Hey, everyone. So I'm not cool enough to not need notes, so I got notes. So let's see. So we have designated organizers in the eastern and western regions of the state. We have also secured a political designation. So what that means is in Massachusetts, you can change your voter registration to register with the People's Party designation. What we found out, and listen up if there's anyone from Massachusetts listening, we found out that if you register with a political designation in Massachusetts, you are still actually considered an unenrolled voter for the purposes of primaries. So anyone in Massachusetts who wants to change and register with the People's Party designation can still vote in Democratic or Republican primaries until we reach actual political party status. We are currently looking at both online and in-person opportunities for future designation drives to get people to register. Also, we have elected interim officer positions. We currently have a interim chair, vice chair, and secretary. Our bylaws committee has begun having regular meetings, and we expect, fingers crossed, to have our bylaws and our first non-interim state central committee in place by July. Again, knock on wood. And in Massachusetts, there's two ways to become a political party and get that status. One is to reach a certain threshold of voters in Massachusetts, that's 46,000, getting 46,000 people to change their voter registration as People's Party. The other way is by running a candidate for a statewide office and getting at least 3% of the vote. In Massachusetts, we have decided that both is a beautiful word, and we are actively pursuing both options. We have identified one office that looks pretty promising, and now we're going to start looking into possible candidates. So those are the major happenings. And the only other thing I want to say, just to other states as you are organizing and starting to get organizing. Just for helpful information, I would say two things. One, read your state's election laws. It is horribly boring. It's cruel and unusual punishment, but you might find something in there that really surprises you and turns out to be helpful. That's actually how we found out that if you enroll with a designation, you can still vote in Democratic and Republican primaries. That's a much easier sell, right? Because people might be resistant to do that if they're like, well, but I still want to vote, and wherever they had been previously affiliated. So that was a really cool find. You've got to get in there in the trenches and read that really boring text.
She's adorable. She is a cutie pie. Now, besides her being a cutie pie, she's absolutely right on everything in Massachusetts. Being overly optimistic, though, it's an easier sell, but still, you're talking 42,000. And it is strange the way, like, if you even notice, I think the Massachusetts Libertarian Party is not even called that. It's like the Libertarian Association of Massachusetts. It's very different there. But it is, in fact, an easier sell. And yeah, I'm wondering what race they're targeting. Aren't you really curious as to that? Let's make sure we have a Libertarian in it, shall we?
You start losing fundamental democratic rights. And in fact, during the Obama administration, for example, habeas corpus was challenged. And mass surveillance became the norm. The Obama administration made that the norm. And so basically nullifying the Fourth Amendment. And so what we saw when Trump was elected, and something that the Democratic Party has never reckoned with and reconciled with, is that Trump was a reaction to Obama's betrayals. Obama ran as a progressive. He ran on single payer. He ran on tackling the climate crisis. He ran on tackling special interest money and getting money out of politics. Many of the things that we support, and of course we go beyond that as well, building up unions, but he betrayed those promises. He let the bankers go scot-free. He normalized all the wars, the surveillance. And guess what happened? His legacy as a result was Donald Trump. Donald Trump was what we got because he betrayed the American people that way, and because the Democrats did. Well, guess what's going to happen with a frustrated American public, even more desperate and destitute than they were after the 2008 financial crash, when the Democrats bailed out the banks, the Republicans bailed out the banks, did nothing for people, again, nothing to change the structural conditions, either in finance or the economy. Guess what's going to happen after another 4 years of a Democratic president? After people tried Obama, they tried the progressive in the Democratic Party to escape the system. They tried the populist, nationalist, racist Republican, Donald Trump. It took a pandemic and a depression for Biden to inch his way to the presidency by a few tens of thousands of votes in a handful of states, for the Democrats to get the barest of majorities in the Senate, the barest of majorities in the House. So guess what's going to happen after they refuse to use that power and change things fundamentally? You don't have to take it from us, even though we've been saying it for years, because AOC and Biden have said it themselves. They've said that we are going to get worse than Trump. We're going to get worse than Trump in 4 years unless there's a fundamental transformation of the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party makes a material, significant difference in people's lives. And it has not done that. We just talked at the top of the call about how the Biden administration is not even keeping to its own moderate promises. They're not even passing a public option, and they're basically writing off student debt relief. And so we're going to get a worse Trump in 3.5 years. That's what's going to happen. Make no mistake about it. And the only thing that stands between that and where we are now is the People's Party.
The dude and his delusions of grandeur. Really? That's it? Help us. I'm doing the Obi-Wan Kenobi. Help us. Obi-Wan People's Party, you're our only hope. Dude, you're huffing your own farts, okay? But I do find it interesting that they recognize that Obama was not the savior that people think he was, and that a lot of what is happening is a reaction against Obama, but not all of it. Does he think Trump won? Trump didn't barely win over Hillary. He won. Does he think that all of those Republicans were upset because Biden wasn't socialist enough? Dude. Now, certainly, I think Bernie supporters stayed home. They were not about to vote for Hillary. And that did, in fact, make a difference. But not the difference that he, in fact, is claiming. You know, he's, there's some Dunning-Kruger going on. The Dunning-Kruger is strong with this one. But I like this here. Crypt Orchid said, I know. Are we really supposed to believe Trump was racist and Biden isn't? I am so sick and tired of that racist canard. There's something going to be really interesting coming up that you'll see that they say. You're going to laugh when I get to it. I'm trying to figure out how to... Here we go. That's how you remove that. Okay, yeah. But I do think we are being set up for something bad. Something wicked this way comes. Nothing good is going to come from the Biden slide into senility. Probably going to end up with Harris, but let's see. Let's see.
We have a question actually about what the signature window is in Massachusetts. If you can answer.
Oh yes, it's 46,000, and it's not signatures in Massachusetts. That's the thing. You actually have to get 46,000 people to switch their voter registration to the People's Party designation.
Yep. I like how you're getting some education here if you didn't know a lot of the background because you weren't involved or you're not involved now so much in the Libertarian ballot access struggles or in when the affiliates were starting. But that's correct. There is a difference between getting mere signatures and getting registrations.
As Nick said, I'm the state coordinator for Washington State, and I sit on a number of circles. I got a lot of updates this evening. Most excitingly, I can't give an actual date, but in Washington, we are, I would say, less than 6 weeks away from being at the point where you can join as an official member of the Washington People's Party. We are about 6 weeks away from forming our state coordinating committee, and it's a really exciting moment. So if you're here in Washington, I know I saw an Ed Duhame out in Spokane and a Ben Adams in Olympia in the chat. Now's a perfect time to join us up and help shape that party and help us build a new major party of the...
What happened? Why did he stop? Huh. Well, he stopped. I won't. You don't... Okay, maybe him saying build a major new party is more accurate. You know, maybe you will, maybe you won't. Any of my libertarian peeps here from Washington, were you aware that this is so close? Or is he talking out his rear? Let me know. But if not, now you have the heads up. Just setting in my black here. When you have hooded, droopy eyes, doing eyeshadow is like a work of art. I'm going to double check the comments, but I do have to put on my eyes for that. Yep. Pro-war Trump with Biden. And right here, they are deluding them. Elastic Draft says these people are deluding themselves if they think blue colors will get on board with their social environmental agenda. The working classes liked that. Exactly. The working classes not only liked it, they loved Trump's anti-immigration, anti-China rhetoric. They absolutely did. Not because they were racist either. They saw it as a matter of survival. It wasn't that they hated the Mexicans or whatever group. It was because they saw it as either the Mexicans or their family, and they loved their family more. I'm not saying they're correct, but I am saying to identify correctly what the actual issues are.
You start losing fundamental democratic rights.
Okay.
And in fact, during the Obama administration, for example.
All right, I played this before, but I think I cut the other clip short. I'm going to play this clip again because I hope it goes further, because there was something I thought was coming that wasn't, and I think I messed something up. But in any case, it can't hurt to hear it again.
Habeas corpus was challenged. And mass surveillance became the norm. The Obama administration made that the norm. And so basically nullifying the Fourth Amendment. And so what we saw when Trump was elected, and something that the Democratic Party has never reckoned with and reconciled with, is that Trump was a reaction to Obama's betrayals. Obama ran as a progressive. He ran on single payer. He ran on tackling the climate crisis. He ran on tackling special interest money, getting money out of politics. You know, many of the things that we support, and of course we go beyond that as well, building up unions, but he betrayed those promises. He let the bankers go scot-free. He normalized all the wars, the surveillance. And guess what happened? His legacy as a result was Donald Trump. Donald Trump was what we got because he betrayed the American people that way, and because the Democrats did. Well, guess what's going to happen with a frustrated American public, even more desperate and destitute than they were after the 2008 financial crash, when the Democrats bailed out the banks, the Republicans bailed out the banks, did nothing for people, again, nothing to change the structural conditions, either in finance or the economy. Guess what's going to happen after another 4 years of a Democratic president? After people tried Obama, they tried the progressive in the Democratic Party to escape the system. They tried the populist, nationalist, racist Republican, Donald Trump. It took a pandemic and a depression for Biden to inch his way to the presidency by a few tens of thousands of votes in a handful of states.
Okay, I'm stopping this for 1 second. We're not in a depression. I mean, maybe he's just using hyperbole. And I'm sorry, Donald Trump was not a racist. He was just a jerk.
For the Democrats to get the barest of majorities in the Senate, the barest of majorities in the House. So guess what's going to happen after they refuse to use that power and change things fundamentally? You don't have to take it from us, even though we've been saying it for years, because AOC and Biden have said it themselves. They've said that we are going to get worse than Trump. We're going to get worse than Trump in 4 years unless there's a fundamental transformation of the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party makes a material, significant difference in people's lives. And it has not done that. We just talked at the top of the call about how the Biden administration is not even keeping to its own moderate promises. They're not even passing a public option, and they're basically writing off student debt relief. And so we're going to get a worse Trump in 3.5 years. That's what's going to happen. Make no mistake about it. And the only thing that stands between that and where we are now is the People's Party.
Okay, I didn't clip out more. I don't know why that clip was in there twice then, but couldn't hurt to hear it again. Maybe I clipped out more in this next one. Let's see.
You start losing fundamental democratic rights.
What
and
happened?
in fact,
Hold
during
on.
the Obama administration,
I can't figure out what I did here. Let me move forward to see if it goes, because there's really something good that I can't find.
Get worse than Trump.
Yeah, we had that.
We're going to get worse than student debt relief.
Okay, that's the same thing. Let's try again.
We got lucky with the first Trump. He was the buffoon.
Now we're ready.
He was totally incompetent. He was handed on a silver platter a crisis which other fascistic leaders around the world, like Viktor Orban, used to actually consolidate power in the military and consolidate their country's authoritarian power. Trump, what did Trump do? Wouldn't even use the Defense Production Act. He didn't seize industry. Trump didn't mobilize the military to shut down the country, to suspend constitutional liberties. In fact, he gave that power to the governors. He didn't want that power. Well, the next one, like Mike Pence, that kind of leader is going to be capable, and they're going to be they're going to be an ideologue. Trump believes in nothing but money and nothing but his social media buffoonery. But the next one is going to be capable, and they're going to be able to manipulate this country, and they'll probably have military ties. And then you're going to see this country lose fundamental rights. And guess what? My family comes from a country where that happened. I'm a first-generation American from Chile.
Okay. I laughed at this clip because they're like, actual fascistic leaders took this opportunity and did X, Y, and Z, but Trump didn't even do that. So with that data set, what does Occam's razor say your conclusion should be? Well, no matter what his faults may be, that Trump wasn't fascistic. But no, they're so blinded by their own prejudices that no matter what the data says, they're bound and determined that Trump was a fascist. He just must have been an unambitious fascist or a bad fascist, rather than all the data pointing to he wasn't a fascist. He would have grabbed that power and he didn't. You disproved your own point. And perhaps the next bad Trump that we're going to get is not in reaction to Obama or into Biden. It's in reaction to all you jerks calling people names that they really aren't. And someone's going to come along and say, well, I'm going to be it if I'm going to be called it.
Well, I'm really, really happy to have you to talk about Medicare for All, especially, we're still...
Okay, I want to stop 1 second because I do want to introduce this. This is not the People's Party conference call any longer, and I'm mixing up some allegedly magnetic eyeliner that seems to have hardened into... Hear that? This is Annalise Garcia. So she's like People's Party... This show is adjacent. I mean, she's a People's Party person, cheerleader all the way. But this show isn't an official People Party show. It's her own show. And she's suffered a lot of censorship at the hands of YouTube. I just want to see if this eyeliner will spread. It's allegedly magnetic. We shall see. I had to put in like some of this makeup, like, I don't know what you call it, some kind of alchemy liquid that, whatever, doesn't matter. It goes in makeup to make it liquefy, so we'll see if that works. So this is just one clip from her talking about, again, the Medicare for All fetish. But she tells a very real human story that I don't want to diminish, and I think we so often as libertarians do. So I'd like to handle it cautiously and with compassion when she's done.
Even though we're getting vaccines, we're still in the midst of this pandemic. And the idea in and of itself that in the middle of this global health crisis, our government was still unwilling to give Americans health care is kind of mind-blowing. And Medicare for All is something that I talk about very often because I have a 21-year-old sister with severe autism. She's nonverbal, still in diapers, have to do everything for her. And things like in-home therapy are not considered a necessity for her. There's a lot of stuff that they don't cover, even though she's supposed to have Medi-Cal. And so
I do want to stop there just 1 second because I don't want to forget this point. And we'll also deal overarchingly at the end. But her sister is under a state medical system, and she's unhappy with the coverages, but wants everyone to be under that system. Does that make any logical sense to you? It doesn't to me, and my heart goes out for her sister and her family that they're having to go through this. But her other statement that we went through a pandemic and the government still won't give us Medicare, like she's treating it like the government has this little box that's called medical care, and they're just hoarding it, and they won't give it to us. They could, but they won't just give it to us. That's a nice way of fluffing around the fact that that the government won't or didn't completely nationalize our healthcare system and rob from a bunch of people to pay for it against their will and to remove their freedoms of choice, because your family is in a very unfortunate circumstance. Still does not give you the right to demand that the government do this. If the government had the right to do this, you would have the right to do this. You would have the right to go out with a gun to your whole neighborhood and force them to pay for the care that you want your sister to have. Do you have that right? No? Then the government doesn't on your behalf. Whoops.
Well, I'm really, really happy to have you to talk about Medicare for All, especially, we're still, even though we're getting vaccines, we're still in the midst of this pandemic. And the idea in and of itself that in the middle of this global health crisis, our government was still unwilling to give Americans health care is kind of mind-blowing. And Medicare for All is something that I talk about very often because I have a 21-year-old sister with severe autism. She's nonverbal, still in diapers, have to do everything for her. And things like in-home therapy are not considered a necessity for her. There's a lot of stuff that they don't cover, even though she's supposed to have Medi-Cal. And so there's also a lot of things that I worry about, like as she gets older, if something happens to me and my mom, I don't want her ending up in a government home. I want her to be able to, be taken care of in her own home. And so there.
Okay, I think we might be starting over on this clip again because I keep messing it up, but I needed to stop there. Why don't you want her to be in a government home? If government is so great to take over all of our health care, why would that be so bad? You would think that would be like Disney World. No? Okay. Well, the reason why you would not want your beloved sister to be at the tender mercies of the state is the same reason we do not want that for our health care. 1 second. I am looking for a different eyeliner here, and I can't seem to find it. Is it right in front of my freaking eyes and I don't see it? Well, I'm going to have to use, I guess, this pink, and I didn't want to use this pink. I wanted black, but I can't find where I put it. Because this little tub, it's not working. It's not sticking at all. So, continuing.
There's also a lot of things that I worry about, like as she gets older, if something happens to me and my mom, I don't want her ending up in a government home. I want her to be able to, be taken care of in her own home. And I also am having a mom that's going through cancer. She thankfully just had it removed. She's going through chemo now. But, when you're going through all of these problems health-wise in the family, the last thing that you should be worried about is what doctor is a network or how much the medical bill is going to be. So,
okay, I want to stop 1 second too, because there was something else I wanted to mention. Like, she makes it sound like the government, I have to keep my eyes shut to let this dry a little. She says the government won't give us health care, yet she's talking about health care that her mother did get. See, there's a bait and switch here. When she says the government won't give us health care, it sounds like a zero-sum thing. That there's the box, again, of health care, and you either have it or you don't, and the only way you have it is if the government gives it to you. But obviously, people today are getting health care. So it's obviously not all shoved in this government box. And the way it's worded is extremely deceptive. What she really means is that the government won't nationalize the health care that exists so that it can forcibly redistribute it in an inferior quantity, but at least everyone will be equally miserable, to everybody. I like the conversation to be honest.
No, I'm really excited to have this Medicare for All conversation with you today. So,
okay, that was the end of that. So, yeah, I do really feel for her. It is very, very difficult to have a child or any family member that is basically going to be disabled for life or never really mature past a certain age, at least mental age, as it sounds like is the case with her sister, who is severely autistic and still in diapers. And that is unfortunate. And in the past, there would be charities to help with that. Charities are hindered today. The government actually punishes those sorts of things and disincentivizes them. I'm not saying it was perfect in the past. It obviously was not. But the fact is that still does not give you the right to force other people to pay, to force other people to take on the burden of your family's health. Just like your food, your housing, your education. Of course, you are really working towards you thinking everyone should provide that for everyone. I made a conscious decision not to have children. There were many reasons for that. One of them being I couldn't afford it because I'm supporting everyone else's kids in some way or another, but I couldn't afford to do it in the way that I would have thought best, including making sure that there was enough set aside or options available that I would be able to handle if there was some catastrophic issue with the child. Not all children are born perfectly healthy, and you need to be prepared for that. The world does not owe you children. It's a choice you make that you need to be responsible for. Oh, it's not sticking because I didn't put eyeliner on that side yet. Let's wait for this side to dry a little bit. So I do feel for your family. And I do believe that absent government interference and distortion, that people are, for the most part, there are sociopaths, obviously, good. And that there would be options for you. The whole reason you feel so deeply, and it's not just selfish, it's not just because your own sister is this way. I think you would feel very deeply even if your sister was perfectly healthy. It's because you have compassion for your fellow man. Well, you're not the only one. Everyone does. And if we had to take care of ourselves, rather than pretending like there was this demigod called the state that was just going to magically make everything better, we would do it. And it would be much more humane, interpersonal, and better, in my opinion. But even if it wasn't, it still doesn't give you the right to force other people. Your family's problems do not justify aggression against another family. We need to solve the problem. We need to have compassion on your family's plight. But we need to do it within the boundaries of not committing aggression. And let me put on this eyelash because this is all I have for the People's Party. We're going to go to comments because next we're going to be discussing New Hampshire, and that's going to be fun. But I want to get this eyelash on first and do want to see the comments. So I'm trying to get it to bend, and it's not behaving. So I've got this little thing here that kind of forces it to conform. Ooh, but not in an aggressive way. It doesn't have feelings. This isn't a NAP violation. Here we go. Let me get it into shape. That's a little better. Let me see if I can get it on that eyelid. Ooh, and I smeared up top here. Hold on one sec. I didn't let it dry enough. Let me find my little brush. Okay, that cleaned that up. Let's see if we can get this on here. It's on there, but it's not down. Let me press it down. Here we go. It's getting there. The end isn't down. Hold on, I need to try this puppy again. One of them always gives me a really hard time. Okay, that seems better. Yeah, there we go. Press them down, press them down, press them down. Okay, are you ready to talk about New Hampshire? I need some caffeine for this. Need some caffeine and some kratom for my aching back. Y'all curious? I put my kratom into caplets because it tastes nasty. So of course I buy pink caplets. This is perfectly legal where I am at. It is a cactus-based pain reliever, actually, and it's been. And I got all this gunk on my hand here. I want to clean off this makeup before I get it all over my pants. It's been a lifesaver. So let me just chug these two down, then we're going to go to comments, and then I'm going to pontificate about New Hampshire. Okay, let's take a look at these comments. I'm going to need my glasses. Where'd I put my glasses? Oh, they're over here. Sorry. Premature panic. Okay, yeah, all the comments are completely on point. I am going to just put a few up. Elastic Giraffe, yeah, they see healthcare as a natural resource rather than a labor product, right? A natural resource that they're just entitled to. And this from Mari E. Imagine if healthcare services were just not expensive and you could shop around without worrying about insurance coverage. Yeah, and there still is some concierge, and these eyelashes are bugging the hell out of me because they're still sticky from the glue. Yeah, there still is some of that. Why do you think there is medical tourism to Mexico? My sister goes there for her dental care, and she said, when she first started going down there, expected it to be like, walking into a shanty town and it'd be all dodgy. And she's like, no, it's state of the art. But okay, let's go to the next screen. I think that should be me. It is. And I'm trying to find where I have this queued up for New Hampshire. Let me go to the next one. Yeah, here we go. Okay, let's go back. All right. So first, let me do the intro, and then we'll start looking at some actual documents. And I really do want to have comments front and center here because I think you guys probably have a lot to say. And I don't really have notes for this, so this is going to be a bit free-flowing. So what's been going on with New Hampshire? Well, whoever's doing their Twitter feed right now has made it a goal to say some really, really bold, unapologetic messaging. Now, I know some people would disagree with my characterization. I'm trying to characterize it fairly as they would see it. The messaging is certainly bold, and I don't think that's what anyone disagrees on. I think there's two areas, and I'm putting this block on here to try to get rid of the stickiness that's still bothering the hell out of me on my eyelashes. I think the areas of disagreement are, were they worded tactfully or like, were they worded the best way for bold messaging? Like, the disagreement is not with the bold messaging, it's with the artfulness or lack thereof. And the other disagreement is no matter how artfully they worded it, there are some people who would have just lost their shit over the message. And they're using the alleged, and I'm saying alleged because I haven't demonstrated this, the alleged inartfulness as cover for the fact that they just don't agree with the libertarian position on the issue. First of all, on the let's deal with the inartful issue. Artfulness of messaging often is 20/20. And hindsight is always 20/20. Do I think they were the most skillfully worded? No. However, I do not act as if my after the fact analysis is that determinative on the before the fact decision. Yes, I think they could have worded it better, even considering that, but let's all recognize that all of us after the fact on almost anything can word something better. How many times have you been in a debate where you did okay, or even a discussion, and you go home 2 hours later, you're like, oh, I wish I had said X. That would have been fire. We all have that. Again, hindsight, 2020. But could the foresight have been a little better? Yeah. I think we're dealing, I don't know who runs the New Hampshire Twitter. But from what I understand, it's a fairly new volunteer, and I would guess a fairly young one, and I think we ought to cut the person some slack. Even if they weren't fairly new or fairly young, I believe in always cutting volunteers some slack. They're volunteers. They're not getting paid to be abused by the rest of the party, and some of you guys need to remember that. Okay? You know, civility, you might think that they're uncivil in the way that they messaged, but the way you're messaging to them is worse. And I think you need to, some of you, when I say you, I'm not talking to everyone. I'm probably not talking to anybody who's listening to my show. Maybe I am. I don't think my audience, but they could be, were the ones that were kind of being jackasses to this volunteer or volunteers. That's not the way you treat volunteers. That's the first thing. The second thing is, could you have done better? If so, be helpful and say, you know what? I like the point you were trying to get to. Maybe if you worded it this way and make it a teaching experience and say, I have your back. Let me help you. That's one way. That's the best way if what you were actually concerned about is that it wasn't worded the best way. But honestly, I think that's only about, of all the people who are unhappy with the New Hampshire tweet, I think it's only about 20% of the people that are actually unhappy with the inartful wording. Another 20%, I think, are practicing a type of concern trolling. And this is endemic in our party. I get it all the time. I'll bring forth an issue, and people will go, I needed pearls. I should have worn my pearls. Let's pretend like this is pearls. They'll go, is this really the most important issue you could talk about? Please show me the rule that says that I can only talk about the most important issue in your eyes. The issue is important to somebody. Somebody's freedoms are being infringed just because you might not value that person as much, or you think sheer numbers are the only way to value human freedom. That's not my metric. Every violation of human freedom is important to me. And what's important to me might not be most important to you, and you have no say on what I should talk about or what is most important to me. The only thing you should worry about is it libertarian and does it need to be fixed? Not whether it is on the top of your list. In fact, I think it's quite an entitled mentality for one person to go to another person's wall and go, is that the most important thing? Go do you, boo-boo. Mind your own business then. Unless it's not libertarian or some other complaint. But you do not get to arrange the hierarchy of concerns. And in fact, one thing we should know above all as libertarians, you can't centrally plan liberty and say, we're going to talk about this and fix it, then we're going to talk about this and fix it. You're not entitled to organize other people's concerns. Okay? You don't get to run their life. You don't get to run their politics. First of all. So that's about another 20%. And some of them maybe agreed with the message. Others maybe thought it was just unartful. Their concern, though, wasn't even the message. They don't care. You didn't talk about what they think are the most important things, and that's all anyone should talk about. So whatever. Okay, that's about another 20%, in my view. I would love to hear y'all's estimates. I want to see comments before I continue. Yeah, clutch the pearls and think of the children. Okay, the other 60%, perhaps I'm overestimating. I'd love to hear your estimates. Were people, no, let me break this down even further. Another 40%, so that I'm bad at math, that puts us at 80. Another 40% were people who just fundamentally disagreed with the message, but disguised their disagreement under the cloak of it was worded badly. The last 20% openly disagreed with the message and didn't even pretend to care about how artfully it was worded. No matter how you worded it, it would have sucked. There is a 20% that I respect in this conversation, and it's the 20% that didn't agree with it and didn't try to pretend it was about the way it was worded, because at least they're being honest. I want to put lip liner on. At least just the bottom. I'll do the other one in a minute. I don't want to have too much dead air. So let's just, I already, I think, gave my opinion on the concerned trolls. I did give my opinion on the ones who were okay with the message but thought it was inartfully worded. Just check yourself to make sure your dissent was artfully worded. You can be helpful, and some people were. Now to the ones who just fundamentally disagreed with the message but were pretending it was about how it was worded. You have every right to disagree with the message. The message in this case is the abolition of child labor laws. Every right to disagree with it. What you do not have the right to do, and let me put you on suspense while I line my upper lip. What you do not have the right to do is redefine libertarianism and say, well, there's a couple things that's one thing you don't have the right to do. That's a libertarian position. If it embarrasses you, that's not New Hampshire's problem, and it's not my problem. It's your problem, and that's okay. You cannot like it. Nobody has to agree with the party 100%. I do expect people to be honest, though, that their disagreement is with that area of libertarianism and not try to pretend that those who actually agree with that area are just terrible people or not libertarians, because then you're just not being truthful. What New Hampshire stated is the libertarian position. Not everyone is a perfect libertarian. Not everyone has to be. I don't think anyone, to be honest with you, is a perfect libertarian. In fact, as I've said often, and I'll end up doing another show on this because it's been a while, I don't think people are libertarian at all. I think ideas are. People are something different than walking bundles of ideas. For each idea you have, it's either libertarian or not. It could be semi-libertarian, but you are much more than a walking bundle of ideas. You're much more complicated than that and worth much more than that. So that's one thing you don't have the right to do. And I forgot the other thing because that's the one that most got me. I should have wrote it down. Let me put my lipstick on. At least partly. This is Be Same Cosmetics, which a lot of you see the ads for. It's like these vintage colors. And I just love them. They are just such striking lipsticks. And it is so like World War I, World War II, isn't it? This is like a noir red. I could let you know the exact shade if you want, but isn't that gorgeous? Be careful not to go outside the lines. So, I want to back up my assertion that this is a libertarian position. First of all, the first objection will be, yeah, but exploitation or abuse of children is a violation of the non-aggression principle, and you are correct. But we don't need child labor laws to deal with that. We already have laws against abusing children. One problem with our legal system is that we just proliferate laws into these specific categories, end up growing beyond what they can be justified for. You don't need a law specific to this one kind of abuse. All you need is a general law against child abuse. And we have that. Just like you don't need a law against drunk driving, you need a law against reckless driving, and it could cover a myriad of circumstances. You do not need to multiply laws, because then what happens is that one specific circumstance grows way beyond its justification, which is what happened with child labor laws. And the fact is, the law did not stop. The law was not the impotence for the phasing out of what we would all agree is abusive use of children as workers. Okay? None of us want children dying in coal mines. Though someone on my page sarcastically claimed that's what the New Hampshire Party, like if someone said to the New Hampshire Party, oh, but there'll be all these dead children in coal mines, and they'd be like, yeah, and the problem with that is what, bro? That's slanderous. I'm sorry. I don't care whether it was sarcastic joke, not supposed to be a direct quote. That's slanderous to say that that's what the volunteers or the board in New Hampshire wants. Come on, be better. And there used to be things like that, and it isn't the law that stopped it. It was general prosperity that stopped it. Do you think parents today love their children more? Are you just so much better? You might be arrogant enough to think that, but the people 100, 200 years ago loved their children just as much as you do. It's desperation that forces people to send their children into labor. It's that or starvation for the family. Just like it is in many third world countries, where you think you are being oh so compassionate and saying, oh, we just got to outlaw these factories where there's children working. Well, you've just condemned the family to die. It's a choice of bad and bad, or bad and worse. Prosperity and capitalism is what will take care of the abusive use of children in workforces. Now, taking that aside, is it good to start slowly introducing children to the value of work and giving them skills when their brains are very elastic and their interests are just so pure and enthusiastic? Yes, absolutely it is. We are missing out on a lot of talent in that way. You know, we need to get over the prudishness of this. Childhood doesn't just like you wake up on your 18th and one day on earth and all of a sudden you're an adult. It's a process, and you need to work people into that. Extended childhood is a great thing in one way. It means we are a prosperous country that can afford to do that. But it's a bad thing in others, because that's just not the way biology has wired us. We are meant to ease into responsibility in adulthood. And you do that by allowing children to slowly assume some of those responsibilities and explore their interests while it's still safe to do so, not by shielding them in perpetual pre-adolescence, which is what our laws do and is what we do. That's just the philosophical case for it. But I want to give you a documentary case, because we're talking about the party, not just general libertarian philosophy. Let me pull this up. I was just taking a look at some of the comments. Okay, so this is the tweet, and I think we're all going to agree that it wasn't very artfully worded. The first thing that comes up is going to be the platform thing, and that's not what I want. I want to hide that and put this up. Okay, so this is the tweet. Children will learn more on a job than in legalized child labor. Children will learn more in a job than in public school. Public schools suck, which I think they're trying to do too much with one tweet for one thing. Because I don't think they intended to say that what you might learn in an academic setting is useless compared to what you would learn on a job. I'm putting on a lip sealer. I think what they intended to say is that public schools are useless and you learn more on a job than you do in public school, which is literally what they said. But it's too short to get the nuance. So yeah, I do think it could have been worded a little differently. But again, hindsight is 20/20. I think there's two issues there, and they shouldn't have tried to handle both of them. I think if I was going to redo their tweet without changing it very much, though if I were going to tweet on this subject, it would be totally different. And I'll tell you what I would have said. But I would have just put legalize child labor. Children learn valuable skills to make them happy and productive adults through productive labor, or something to that extent. I wouldn't have even mentioned the schools. I don't think. I would have stuck strictly to the issue of child labor, if it were me, and I didn't want to change their tweet too much. So let me now pull up the documentary proof. I've often said, and I want to put up this camera. Yeah, let me move it to the side. I've often said that the best platform the Libertarian Party ever had was in 2002. They fucked it up in 2004, and that's what led to the 2006 massacre. People like to blame the Portland massacre sheerly on the Reform Caucus coming in and messing things up. No, you need to look back to 2004, where well-meaning radicals set it up. They mauled the platform. I know they don't believe they were doing that, but that's in fact what they did by making it this accordion platform with these three-step thing. One day we'll go over the 2004 platform and you'll see what a monstrosity it was. That the only thing really you could do with it at that point was kill it in a fire. So I go back to 2002. If I had to choose between the 2008 platform, which was pretty weak, and the 2004 platform, I'd pick the 2008, even though I'm a radical, because it was just horrible in 2004. It was unmanageable. It was begging to be deleted. Apologies to anyone who's listening to this that was on that platform committee. Your intentions were good and they paved the way to hell. You played right into the hand of the moderate platform rapers. But let's go back to 2002. Now, some people go, well, yeah, but that was our position in 2002. But not now, really? So libertarian principles changed? No, they don't. Our statement of principles has stayed the same. The statement of principles is actually our positions, and the planks are deemed by the delegates who could have appealed them at any convention as going against the statement of principles, as being in conformity with the statement of principles. They might fall short, like not go all the way, but they don't go backwards. They don't contradict. They could be interim, but they can't be backtracking, if you understand what I mean. So whatever our platform was in 2002, all you can say about it is that it was more detailed. You can't say we don't believe it anymore, because it's in conformity with the statement of principles. And this is why I am completely against a shorter platform. Most people don't read the platform, and the people that do benefit from a long one. And then you don't get LNC members, like happened in 2014, saying, are we really against the FEC? It doesn't say that explicitly in the platform. Yes, that was said. Yes, I'm still getting counseling over that statement. But let me show you what we said about this issue in the 2002 platform. And I'll move me off here. I've highlighted it for you. So I wanted to give you the whole plank so you had it in context. It was in a whole plank having to deal with families and children, meaning the context is the family is the arbiter, absent abuse. The family is the arbiter of the children. The parents and the family are the custodian of the rights of the children until they reach full majority and to be able to take full custodianship over their own rights, not the effing state. Get that through your libertarian skull. So let's read this thing, the whole thing. Families and children. We believe that families, I need to make this a little bigger so I'm not like right up against the mic here. So let me see if I can do that. I know you guys see it fine, but I'm on a little laptop here. And I've got old eyes. Okay. And you notice it's 21, which means there was 20 other planks before this. And this wasn't even, this probably midway through. I think there was probably 60 planks in that platform. We believe that families and households are private institutions. Yes. I'm going to be putting in my yes, queen comments through here, which should be free from government intrusion and interference. We believe that government involvement in traditional parenting responsibilities has weakened families and replaced family-taught morals with government-taught morals. Yes. I wish we had this plank still in our platform. Hey, if I'm not permanent chair of the platform committee, because when I am chair of the platform committee, I tend not to propose things. I do rarely, but I tend not to, and just am there to help the committee do what it wants to do. But if I'm not permanent chair, I might propose this. Parents or other guardians have the right to raise their children according to their own standards and beliefs without interference by government unless they are abusing the children. We recognize that the determination of child abuse can be very difficult. Only local courts should be empowered to remove a child from his or her home with the consent of the community. This is not meant to preclude appropriate action when a child is in immediate physical danger. Because parents have these rights, a child may not be able to fully exercise his or her rights in the context of family life. However, children always have the right to establish their maturity by assuming administration and protection of their own rights, ending dependency upon their parents or other guardians, and assuming all the responsibilities of adulthood. That is a fancy way of saying there should be a clear path to emancipation. Parents have no right to abandon or recklessly endanger their children. If I propose this, I would pare down some of the wording. I see some repetitiveness. I have no problem with shortening things to get rid of repetitiveness. Whenever they are unable or unwilling to raise their children, they have the obligation to find other persons willing to assume guardianship. Accordingly, we oppose all laws that impede these processes, notably those restricting private adoption services. In particular, we call for the repeal of all laws restricting transracial adoption. That was a really big issue then. I don't have kids. I'm not very up on what's going on in adoption law right now. I don't think that's a big issue right now, but I could be wrong. I'm ignorant. But here's the part that deals with the New Hampshire tweet. And actually, if I were going to write the tweet, I would just write this. I just quote this. This has already been workshopped by hundreds of libertarians. I don't think I could do better. A child is a human being, and as such deserves to be treated justly. We oppose laws infringing on children's rights to work and or learn, such as child labor laws and compulsory education laws. We also oppose the use of curfews based on age. And then it continues, we call for an end to the practice in many states of jailing children not accused of any crime. We call for the repeal of all children's codes or statutes which abridge due process protections for young people. Except for the redundancies, I think this is beautiful. So, oh, and I don't want my Patreon thing up there. We'll do that. Hold on. Let me figure out how to get that off the screen here. It's very distracting. 1 second here. I might not be able to. I've got such a small screen here. Well, you know what? I didn't get to... there. I got it off. Okay. It was just distracting me because it covered so much of the screen real estate. So that is, in fact, the libertarian position. We call for the repeal of child labor laws because they infringe upon the child's growing right to work and the parent's right to determine the appropriate maturity level and jobs that the children may be capable of without abusing their children. You do not need the tender mercies of the state to raise your children. And that is, in fact, what you are doing with these laws. That is not just not libertarian, it's anti-libertarian, and you have every right to hold that position. But do not deceive yourselves or others as to what it is. And I know we all are just so scared of what the world thinks of us. Well, Cupcake, let me tell you, a lot of the world already thinks we're nuts. And they're not going to think we're any less nuts by hiding what the actual logical implications of our positions are. If you are embarrassed by the positions, I think you need to take a really hard look at yourself. Maybe you're not a libertarian. I'm not saying that to throw anyone out. Not at all. I want everyone to be a libertarian. But I'm saying what I think is best for you. I want you to be comfortable with what you believe. It must be painful to be embarrassed by what you believe and want to hide it. That betrays an underlying pathology, and you need to figure out what it is. Is it just that you need to grow a spine? Or is it that you don't really believe these things? Whatever it is incumbent upon your own happiness to figure this out, and everyone's happiness around you. Because those of us who do believe it and aren't embarrassed by it are tired of being hectored by you, to be quite frank. Okay. I want to pull up some comments and deal with them, and then I have a few other things to say that is going to horrify all the right people. A lot of it is things that I covered. There's some personal testimonies as well. He says, Elastic Draft says, I can maybe understand some concern, if only because libertarians can be so cringe when it comes to parental obligations and the, is that a word? I like it, agential status of children independence. You want to know what? People aren't perfect, but those same people are in government. And they're not perfect either. When we have to boil it down, who is the best to raise children is the people who produce them or those who have voluntarily assumed their guardianship. And I think a lot of the cringe is just showboating. I don't think most people really believe that way. It is, parts of it are in our current platform. It can certainly be, I was asked, is this not our current platform? I should have pulled that up. It certainly can be extrapolated from our current platform, but our current platform does not say that outright. But hold on, I've got my iPad here. I won't have to, let me see. I know our children and families plank in the current platform is weak sauce. If I can pull it up quickly on my iPad, depending upon the connection, I'll do it. If not, we'll just move on. So lp.org. Where's my forward slash? Forward slash. What, that was B. Where's my forward slash? Right there. Okay. Platform. But while that's pulling up, I'll look at another comment. Yeah, Elastic Giraffe noted that Murray Rothbard would be rolling in his grave. Murray Rothbard was tragically and horrifically wrong in his position about children. If what Murray Rothbard believed was the logical consequence of libertarianism, I would not be a libertarian. Okay, this is all we have. 1.6. Let me get this one comment off the screen. 1.6, parental rights. Parents or other guardians have the right to raise their children according to their own standards and beliefs, provided that the rights of the children to be free from abuse and neglect are also protected. You can extrapolate things from there, but this is why the short platforms suck. Because you will always have someone trying to say, no, we don't believe that. Brevity might be the soul of wit, but it is not the beef of political ideology. Okay, thank you, Trish. Okay, yeah, some people, so Mari had said, this viral post about this dad whose child was working at Burger King, and people, made it sound like he sent the kid to the salt mines. Yeah, it's ridiculous. For as long as I can remember, my dad had some kind of business. Funny, most of them, I didn't know this too, I was older, so This might have actually been borderline abusive in some way because of the danger involved. But of course, there shouldn't have been danger if the state didn't make all drugs illegal. I'm going in a roundabout way to say that my dad was a drug dealer and a bookie. Both of those should be fully legal. But he often had businesses that were fronts for that, so he could launder the money through it. And one of it was a pizza place. And of course, I was blissfully unaware of all of that. But I worked there for as long as I can remember for what was appropriate for my age. And I learned a lot. What do I think about Gary Johnson's reply? It sounded like he didn't agree with the content. He didn't. Gary Johnson, on many things, is semi-libertarian. I'm not saying he's not libertarian, because again, please see my earlier comment about how I don't think people are libertarians. I believe Gary Johnson has plenty of libertarian ideas. He also has plenty semi-libertarian ideas, and he has some distinctly anti-libertarian ideas. And his whole thing is, yeah, but it won't sell to the soccer moms in Peoria. Are we the party of principle or the party of what sells? Pick one. You can't be both. We are the party of principle. And I adore Gary. I've got a picture with him. I've got the hugest political crush on Gary, to the point that somebody once raunchily joked with me that he bet I had a Gary Johnson sex doll stowed away in my closet, okay? That's how much I fawn over Gary Johnson. He is such a cutie pie. But he's not God. He's not a hero. He's not, well, we're in the way, like we're all heroes as far as I'm concerned. He's not untouchable, and he can be, and very often is wrong and is not above criticism. And he's wrong. He's not royalty the way some people were treating him. Listen, he stepped into that kitchen. He didn't have to say a damn thing. Don't go in the kitchen if you can't take the heat. And all the people white knighting for Gary Johnson, he's probably smoking a bong and laughing about it, because Gary Johnson has been attacked by far worse, and he doesn't need you to white knight for him. Okay? Get over yourself. So, yeah, as far as Murray Rothbard's horrible view on children, I'm going to do a whole show on that one day, because that was a crisis of faith for me in the Libertarian Party. That was going to be the turning moment as to whether I stayed in this philosophy or not. If I couldn't see my way out of his conundrum, because if that was the logical consequence, I think it would be a morally bankrupt philosophy. There is an article that helped me, if any of you are struggling with it. The title of it is pretty horrifying that it even needed to be written, but it's excellent. It's called Against Egoistic Libertarian Baby Starving. Excellent article. It also solidified my views on my opposition to abortion, by the way, though I don't want the government involved, but it gives a libertarian basis rather than a religious or a Republican basis for my opposition to abortion. Okay. I should write things down so I don't forget them, but two things I want to cover. I'm telling you guys so you can remind me in case I forget. One is Colorado strategy. Just those two words will remind me. And number two is what I'm going to say now. So, there is a 50th anniversary book coming out. It's the 50th anniversary of John Hosper's seminal work, Libertarianism, A New Political Philosophy for Tomorrow. And it's going to be out this year, I think by October. And I am so proud to tell you guys that yours truly has at least one chapter in that book. And chapter might be the wrong way to word it. It's a collection of essays. I have at least one essay. I think I have two, though I'm not sure if the first one is an actual essay or is part of the intro. So the first one is about the statement of principles and the history of me finding that document. You all know all about that. So just my involvement in the history of the party. That's either going to be the intro or its own essay or a little bit of both. I don't know. But the one definite essay I have is on abortion. Stop. Practice the meditation I told you right now on how to unclench your butthole. It is not arguing for my position on abortion. In fact, it's not arguing for any position on abortion. What it is arguing for is for libertarians to stop arguing like Democrats and Republicans on the issue. There are distinctly libertarian arguments on both sides, and those are the arguments that need to be made. Let me give you an example of a bad argument from a pro-lifer. But it's a human being and you can't kill a human being. That's a bad argument. If I have to tell you why, you haven't given it enough libertarian thought. Bad argument from the other side. Yeah, I don't care if it's a human being. No one gets to use my body without my consent. Democrat argument. Stop it. If you think that's a good argument on its own, you haven't thought about it libertarianly enough. So in my essay, I take both sides and try to lay out the libertarian cases for both sides. I obviously have a side, but I tried to be fair to and strongman the side that I don't agree with, and at least laid out a libertarian case for both. We need to stop arguing like elephants. Let's just say elephants. Elephant keys. Let's not argue that way. And that's what I find maddening about nearly every single libertarian argument. And because I do come from the anti-abortion side, my own side making the really bad arguments of, but it's a life. As if that ended the question. It doesn't. It does not. Because you're positing a positive right if that's all you're saying. And at least against that argument, there is it came from the religious community, but it's the, no, it didn't. Did it? No, the sled argument. Now, this came from the pro-choice community against the religious community, and it's the famous violinist parable, which I used to laugh at a lot when I was a Republican, because it actually is a very bad argument against a Republican position on abortion. But it's a very good argument against libertarian pro-lifers, and they need to come to grips with it. So I'm not going to give it all away. When the book comes out, I hope you will read that chapter. I'm sure plenty will just see my name and the title and read endlessly. So that will be in October, I think. So yes, I'm very excited. I never thought I would be like, I can't tell you like how that is like such an honor, you know, oh my God, to be in the 50th anniversary of the hospital. That pinch myself. I can't believe it's real. Okay. So the last thing I wanted to go over was Colorado strategy. So in watching New Hampshire, what's interesting is in the lead up to running for the Colorado board again, when I was speaking with my husband, who was going to run for chair, and he started talking about what he was going to say in his chair speech, I said, boring, yawn, I don't care. I'm his worst critic. I go, everything you're saying should be a given. Yes, we're going to do outreach. Yes, we're going to do this. Yes, yeah, you shouldn't have to say any of that. That should be a given. Anyone running for the chair of a state party should be competent and have all the basic necessities down. What I want to hear is what makes you extra. What I want to hear is what else you're going. Well, we need to get more media. I go, you don't get more media when you're us. What are you going to force them? You make your own media. And you want to know what the New Hampshire party has done? Made media. Bravo. I know some people are freaking out saying there is such a thing as bad publicity. There is. But I don't think bad publicity over an unartful tweet, if it gets the conversation started on the actual issue, which it has, if you libertarians would stop reading and open your eyes, it has. The normies have started talking about the issue. Bravo, New Hampshire. They made their own media. They're on Fox National. How many of your parties have done that? When you do that, then I'll listen to your whining. So way before this happened, because again, this was part of the campaign strategy at least for myself when I was running again for Colorado secretary, is we need to make our own media. So I'm not going to tell you what the plan is because the board hasn't finally approved it yet. And I could have all the best laid plans in the world. And if the board doesn't approve it, it doesn't get done. But I can tell you, if the board doesn't approve it, I'm going to start a PAC to do it. But let me wait to see what the board says. I have a plan to make our own media. And a lot of the people who are really unhappy with New Hampshire, come at me, baby, because ours might be more artfully worded, so you won't have that excuse, but I don't think you're going to like it if you're a moderate. Because I'm sorry, we do not spread libertarianism that way. Libertarianism is a radical philosophy, and there's plenty of, and I don't mean it in the caucus way, because even the LNC policy manual says libertarianism is a radical philosophy. It's in the policy manual. Go look it up. The radical caucus is the radical of the radical policy, okay? Just basic libertarianism is radical. And we do not grow the party by milquetoast, semi-libertarian bullcrap. And I won't serve that. This cook, I won't make that sandwich. Honey, you can go make that sandwich yourself. The sandwiches I make are strong libertarian sauce. And I hope in Colorado we're going to deliver some. And I hope we make media as well as New Hampshire did and as well as Kentucky did. Both of them got libertarian ideas out there. And the people that hated it were going to hate it anyway. They just didn't know they hated it yet. I'd rather they know they hate it so we don't waste time on them. But you want to know what happened? People who never even heard somebody who had the balls to step on the third rail of politics, those people ended up becoming actual libertarians. And that's who I want to reach. If you're too big of a coward to step on the third rails, you have no place in third-party politics, at least not in the activism front. You'd probably be a great treasurer or some other thing. But the messengers and the activists have to be willing to stomp on the third rail. And if you do not have that courage, there's other ways you can serve the party, but don't shit on the ones who do have that courage. Okay? As I've often said to moderates, why I don't worry about moderates watering down the party, because our party has a self-destruct mechanism in it. It's called the Statement of Principles, which cannot be modified except by a 7/8 vote of all registered delegates at convention. It's there. No matter how many times you wish it away, it's still there. When you close your eyes and go, was that a dream? Was that really there? You open your eyes, it's still there. And guess what? Same thing with the party anarchists and the party radicals. We will always be here. And you can go out there all day long and peddle your moderate, milquetoasty message. And all it takes is one flaming radical to make their own media to destroy all of that. Because you want to know who the news is going to pay attention to? The radical. And you will not be able to get away with lying to the public about what libertarianism entails. So I always say to these moderates that come at me, go ahead, go on with your bad self. I ain't going anywhere. And people like me will make it impossible for people like you to deceive people about what we believe. Because we'll always be here. There was this Xena Warrior Princess episode, which was so great. If any of you guys are fans of that show, I think it was the episode, I was obsessively a fan of that show. Little did I realize it was because, I had my own, bisexual tendencies, okay? But besides that, I was shipping them. I was shipping the two. I admit it now, okay? But anyway, One Against an Army was the name of the episode. And it was Xena, and Gabrielle's dying upstairs. She needs to get her the antidote. But all of these Spartans are coming in. Of course, it's fantasy, okay? One woman's not going to beat, 10,000 Spartans, whatever it was. But whatever. And she just kicks the living shit out of them. And when they're down for a handful, they start coming at her and she just steps. And they go back. And she says, run for your miserable lives. There's hundreds more just like me. This is what I have to say to the moderates. There are hundreds more like me. And on that note, I am going to conclude. And I got rid of the Patreon thing. But if I lit a fire under your ass and you do have the means to support me, I am currently unemployed and I badly need your help, please. But yes, patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. If this is the type of messaging you want to get out there, help me. And I will do it. I'm proven capable, and I'm proved that I have the balls, I think. I don't know whether it's bravery or stupidity, but whatever it is, I've got it. So you guys, I would like to close out, though, with thanking my current patrons. If you would have the patience just to check them out, it's right here. I did update it with my 3 newest patrons. Thank you. Thank you absolutely from the bottom. I don't want to tear up. Hold on. I just put on my makeup. Breath. Thank you sincerely from the bottom of my heart. You have no idea how much it means to me. And we are continuing our journey through right there.
You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business. Not